You're joking, right? I mumbled to myself as I took in the sight in front of me. The house had to be at least 100 years old, surrounded on all sides by trees and high grass. The old man in the doorway looked to be just as old and run down as the house. "Let's go," Jack said, getting out of the truck. With no other choice, I followed suit. We started walking towards the relic, when I noticed it was quiet. The same thing I experienced at John's house. I paused for a second. Jack looked back and gestured with his hand to catch up. I picked up the pace until I was shoulder to shoulder with him. As we got closer, he waved at the old man, who had his dark eyes trained on me. When we'd got to the steps, Jack told me to wait there. He walked up the steps, that creaked and groaned under his massive frame, and stood right in front of the man. They talked for a few seconds. All the while, the old guy kept his eyes on me. I couldn't make out what was being said, but the conversation ended with a handshake. But when they shook hands, the man pulled Jack in close and whispered something into his ear, with Jack acknowledging it, with a slight nod. Jack turned towards me, and took a few steps towards the edge of the porch. "Come on up here, Mason." After seeing the animals and that black, whatever it was in the woods, I needed to know what I just stepped in. "Mason, this is Clyde. His family's owned this stretch of land almost as long as the town's existed. I met Clyde when I became deputy here, after what happened to John and his friends," Jack said, gesturing towards Clyde. I studied the two men in front of me for a minute. What the hell is going on in this town? What the hell was that thing at John's house? I blurted out. Clyde moved towards me with his hand out. I reached to shake it, and the man clamped down on mine like a damn vice. He said, looking me square in the eye, "Welcome to my home, Mason. But watch your tone, boy." I could feel pressure in my fingers from the blood not being able to circulate. While still squeezing my hand with a scary amount of strength, he looked me over again, then began talking. "So, Jack told me you made your way over to John's house." He then released his grip, the feeling slowly starting to come back to my hand. "I don't know what I saw, sir. It was just a black thing moving through the trees," I said, shaking the numbness away from my hand. Clyde gave me a hard look. "Yeah, you saw it, or it let you see it. Either way, don't matter." "What's going on in town?" I asked nervously. Clyde simply turned his back and motioned for Jack and I to follow him inside. The inside of his home was old, but not run down looking like the outside. We made our way past the living room, which was filled with very old-looking furniture and tons of black and white photos on the walls. We walked down a long hallway towards the back of the house, which was also filled with old photos. Clyde stopped at the door to the left at the end of the hallway. When I got closer, I noticed the door was covered in weird symbols. I'd never seen anything like these before. Plus, the door had one of the biggest deadbolt locks on the market. Clyde unlocked the door and stepped in, followed by Jack. You know that feeling you get when you know nothing but bad is going to come from a decision you're about to make? Well, right as I stepped into that room, there it was, punching me in the stomach. The room was covered in newspaper clippings, handwritten notes, and photos. It looked like a damn operations HQ. In the middle of the room sat a table with 4 chairs, the 2 men I just followed already sitting down when I noticed it. "Have a seat, Mason. Trust me, you're gonna want to sit down." Jack pointed at a chair. The old man stood and took a few steps toward a wall and started looking for something. He pulled down a piece of newspaper, then moved to another wall and removed an envelope. Clyde walked back over to the table and laid out these 2 pieces of paper, then sat down. "This started a long time ago, when the town was just starting. This is what the papers wrote about John and his friends," he said, sliding the newspaper over to me. "Group of hunters attacked by mountain lions," the headline read. I looked up to Jack, who was looking me right in the eye. His eyes glanced down, then back up to mine, suggesting I keep reading. 3 local men on a hunting trip were mauled to death by mountain lions Thursday morning. A 4th man was brought to the hospital, is being monitored for dehydration and heat exhaustion. Authorities say the men were hunting when they were attacked by a pair of mountain lions early Thursday morning. A witness who found the survivor called 911 to alert police to the grisly scene they had discovered. Authorities have not released the victims' names pending notification to next of kin. Sheriff Thomas Walters stated that they were still looking for the animals and cautioned the public to stay out of the forest for the time being until the animals are captured or disposed of. That was the official story that was released. The investigation ended with them parading out some animals they were given to help calm the locals down. It was a bunch of bullcrap. The sheriff then was crooked, so it didn't take much to get him to go along with that story," Clyde said, leaning back in his chair. "Can we stop with all the cloak and dagger crap, please?" I said, leaning back in my own chair, narrowing my eyes at Jack. Clyde stood and slammed his fist on the table with a loud bang, causing both Jack and I to almost tip out of our chairs. "You've been warned. Don't do it again," Clyde growled. "All right, I got it," I said, throwing my hands into the air. "I just want to get to the bottom of all this." Clyde took the newspaper and slid the yellowed envelope in front of me. "This was written by the wealthiest man of the town, Richard Tobias. My great-grandfather found this letter. He kept it, having read what the bastard had done," Clyde said, sitting down in his chair. I picked up the envelope and studied it for a few seconds, then looked up at Jack, who nodded and leaned back in his own chair again. As soon as I opened it up, a musky smell wafted out. I let out a couple of coughs due to not expecting the smell to invade my nostrils so violently. I heard Jack let out a slight chuckle at my eyes watering. A little annoyed, I slid the piece of paper out of the envelope and unfolded it. When I unfolded the letter, a vibration started in my hands and quickly shot through my entire body. It was enough for me to tense up and close my eyes. When I opened them, Jack and Clyde were gone, and I was standing in a small room lined with shelves of books. My eyes started to adjust to the dim candlelight that creeped throughout the small area. "What the fuck?" I questioned when I turned to see a man sitting at a desk in the corner. The candle on the corner of the desk burned halfway through. "Hey, what the hell's going on?" I yelled in the man's direction. He just sat there with his head in the palm of his hands. I started walking over. "Where's Jack?" I growled. It was like he couldn't see me. The man lifted his head, opened up a slide out of the drawer from the desk, and pulled a revolver out. He sat it on the desk next to a photo of a woman. Staring at the picture, he picked up a pen and wrote on a piece of paper for a moment. He placed the pen down and folded the paper and slid it into an envelope, then placed it in the same drawer he had pulled the pistol from. He locked the drawer, then looked again at the picture of the woman. He leaned back in the chair. "I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry," he said before picking up the pistol, putting it in his mouth, and pulling the trigger. "No!" I yelled, trying to get to him, but that vibration hit again right after the flash from the muzzle. I opened my eyes to see Jack sitting in his chair with his mouth wide open, and Clyde standing in the corner of the room. "What the fuck? Who the fuck? What the hell did you guys do to me?" I screamed, going back and forth between the two of them. I turned my head from Jack just in time to get slammed in the face with what had to be the coldest water on earth. "I'll let that one slide," Clyde said, lowering a water bucket. "Now sit down and dry off," he groaned, throwing a towel in my face. Now extremely soaked and pissed off, I sat back down in my chair and started drying my face. I looked down to see Clyde sat in his chair as well. "Jack, I think it's time to lay it out for him," Clyde said, placing both elbows on the table and interlocking his fingers. "You need to finish reading, and then... well, let's just finish first," Jack said, sliding the note back in front of me. "All right, whatever," I said, tossing the wet towel on the floor. I paused for a second before touching the letter again. "Screw it," I whispered as I picked it up. "I leave this as an apology and a warning. As I put pen to paper, I can hear it. I can hear it scratching at the windows, laughing, beckoning me to come outside. My son Philip has been missing for 5 days now. I'm certain it has taken him to its home deep in the pines. I'm the only one left. My love, Amelia, the reason I sought help from that evil, left this mortal coil 1 week ago. She became gravely ill. Embittered when I was told there would be nothing that they can do, I sought help from the church, only to be told to pray. Having done so much for this valley, I grew angrier and angrier. I started seeking darker means to save her, not seeing beyond my selfish need to prolong Amelia's life. I sent out men I trusted, 6 men, each with a bag of gold coins, tasked with finding anything that would help me prolong the life of my beautiful wife. 4 of the men never returned. I'm told they were robbed and killed, having crossed paths with murderous grifters. The 5th man, driven insane, hung himself. Braxton, the final man, was successful in his search. He sought out the location of Trekna. As a young boy, he would hear his elders whisper about a place in the pines. A place dark and evil, the home of Trekna. An evil being that called the darkest hollows home. He told me that Trekna could help. There was going to be a heavy price to be paid, and proceeded to tell me how to get there. After I paid Braxton, I sent the man to find the grifters and dispose of them, violently. I left Philip to care for his mother whilst Braxton and I set out for the pines. He said he would take me to the trail, but would go no further. After reaching the entrance to the trail, Braxton relayed that I would have to walk down the trail until I reach a pair of twisted trees. Beyond those trees, I would find Trekna. With a handshake, I set off down the trail. Hours of walking passed until I came upon the trees mentioned by Braxton. They were gnarled and twisted all the way to the top, completely barren, standing on both sides of the trail like a gate to an unknown kingdom. I forced myself to walk through, then was surrounded by darkness, shadows strewn across the landscape under a pale green moon. I turned around to see that there was no trail, just a wall of pines. It was too late now. I had to continue forward. I began to hear laughing and the smell of meat decaying. It grew sharper with every step. I continued until the smell and laughing became unbearable. I fell to my knees, shielding my ears from the insane laughing with my hands. Then it stopped. When I opened my eyes, there was a cloaked figure standing in the middle of the path. The worn and tattered cloak hid the entire body as it moved in the wind. "Trekna?" I whispered to myself. Instantly, the figure was standing in front of me, causing me to stumble backwards and fall. It took a few steps closer, stood over me, and leaned down slowly. I could see a green glow leaking out from the darkness of the hood. "Stand, Tobias," a deep voice hissed from the figure. It took a step back, allowing me a moment to gather myself and stand. "I seek your help. I can pay you," I said, holding up a bag of gold coins. "I do not want your gold. I have no use for it," Trekna hissed. "I was told there's a price for what I seek. Name it. I'm a man of means and wealth and could pay any price," I pleaded. Trekna raised both of his hands and started removing its hood. My God, I thought to myself, taking in the thing in front of me. The head was adorned with glowing green horns. Its black flesh was cracked and broken with the same green glow emanating from beneath. Glowing holes where its eyes and mouth were. "You will surely know the price, and it will be paid," Trekna growled. It lifted its hand and tossed a small bag at my feet. "This will give you 1 year with your bride," Trekna said, raising the hood back over its head. I bent down to pick up the bag. When I stood, Trekna was gone, and the forest had returned back to normal. I opened the bag, dumping the contents into my hand, a small vial filled with shimmering green liquid. I started the trek back, nervous about the price Trekna said would be paid. I arrived back home and went to Amelia's bedside. Philip questioned where I had been when I pulled the vial from its pouch. "It's none of your concern," I snapped at him. I opened the vial and let Amelia up so she could drink it. I laid her head back down, and she began to shake uncontrollably, then stopped. "Oh God, no! What have I done?" I said as I started crying. I dropped my head to my hands and wept. "Richard?" I looked up to see the love of my life sitting upright in bed. All her beautiful color returned. "Richard, what's going on? I feel amazing," Amelia said, placing her hand gently on my shoulder. I jumped out of my chair and hugged her. "I thought you were gone, my love," I said into her ear. "We have more time." The next year was spent making up for all the time I had dedicated to becoming wealthy. Time I cherished even more due to the forthcoming realization that Trekna's deadline was up. Amelia collapsed on the exact day that marked 1 year. Philip and I buried his mother on our land, then became distant. One morning he told me he was going to town for a while. I have not seen my son since. Trekna appeared to me in a vision and said the debt was to be paid in blood. Philip's and mine. I know it has, Philip, and it's time for me to pay the debt. The spilling of my blood will open the gates of darkness onto this land. For that, I'm sorry. I love you, Amelia. Your husband, Richard. I raised my face from the letter and put it on the table. "This Tobias arsehole got the whole area cursed?" I asked Jack. "Trekna was already here," Clyde said. "The thing at John's house is its hunter, the Dark. What we know about it is that small arms fire does nothing but piss it off," Jack spoke up. "So, how is it I play into all of this?" I asked, sitting back in my chair. "Have you walked around your place, Mason?" Jack asked. I narrowed my eyes at Jack. "No, why?" "You got one of those trees on your property?" Jack said, stroking his salt and pepper-colored beard. I jumped out of my chair. "What? Why the hell didn't you tell me?" I yelled at Jack, gripping the edge of the table. "There's really no need for it at the time. It's been kinda quiet for a while. A few days ago, we started noticing blacked-out vehicles in the area. As soon as they showed up, the dark became active again. Jack responded in a low voice. I think whoever's driving those black cars is searching for Trekna. And it released its hunter back into the area. Clyde said, lighting a cigarette. We need to find out why they're looking for Trekna. And that's where you come in, Mason. I dug into your background. Pretty interesting career you had in the military. We know you still talk to some of your old buddies in the agency. We need to find out who those people are and why they're looking for Trekna, Jack said, standing up from the table and putting his hands on his duty belt. You know what? I'm in. I'll make a couple of calls, I said, looking up at the imposing figure in front of me. I know he did that on purpose. But shouldn't we warn people? At least put out a statement about staying out of the forest? I asked Jack, standing up. For now, keep it to yourself. Wilcott and Edwards know, and they've been patrolling the area of those trees just in case. Also keeping track of any signs of strange activity in the blacked-out vehicles. Let's go. We gotta get back to the station, Jack said, heading towards the door. It's a hunter, and it has your scent now, Clyde called out, facing the wall with his back to us. Close the door on your way out. After staring daggers at the back of his head, I closed the door and followed Jack down the hallway. What's his damn problem? I asked, walking out onto the porch. I should have kicked his ass for that cold water. Jack just chuckled a little and kept walking towards the truck. He stopped just before opening his door. Seriously, I think shit's about to start getting ugly around here. And I want you to be careful. When we get back to the station, I want you to swap out your sidearm for a large caliber. Then grab some incendiary rounds for the 12 gauge. Listen, I haven't told Clyde this, but I think there are more than one of those fucking things running around, he said, looking back up at Clyde's house. I need you to keep your shit together. Copy? Copy, I replied, getting into the truck. On the way back to town, I noticed a black sedan pull out of a side road and start following us. Hey, we're being followed, I said, looking into the side mirror. Blacked-out sedan just pulled out and got behind us. Alright, we're not that far from the station. If it pulls into the lot, we'll handle it, Jack replied, looking in the rearview mirror. A few minutes later, we pulled into the station lot and got out of the truck. The blacked-out sedan parked on the street near the entrance and lowered the passenger side window, not enough to see who it was. I tilted my head in Jack's direction. You know, we could bag them for those tents, right? As soon as I said that, the window rolled up and the car took off. I tossed it the finger, whispering, "Pussies," to myself. Jack heard me and started to laugh. All right there, tough guy. Go see Sutton in the gun cage and grab your gear. I laughed, opening up the back security door. Hey, Sutton greeted me as I walked in. How you doing, Ben? The wife and kids good? Same as usual. Damn boys eat everything in sight. One of them sniffed out some cookies I hid on the shelf in the garage. Savages, he growled. What can I get you? Jack told me to swap out my duty pistol for a larger caliber and pick up a case of incendiary rounds for the 12 gauge. I answered, putting my Glock on the counter. Oh, I see. The look on his face changed as he made sure the chamber was clear. Give me a minute. He pulled a set of keys from his pocket and walked over to a safe behind him. After opening it up, he pulled out a black gun case and 4 boxes of ammunition, placing it all to the side. Then he opened the small cage next to the safe and took out a few more boxes of ammunition and closed everything back up. He gathered everything together and brought everything back to the counter, sliding the ammo boxes from the cage over. These are Dragon's Breath incendiary rounds for the 12 gauge. Nasty stuff, he said with a little smirk. But this thing right here is a personal favorite. That smirk growing to a full-on grin now, as he undid the latches on the gun case. Can I just have I stopped talking when he turned the contents to face me. I was staring at a work of art. This is a Magnum Research Desert Eagle 50 cal AE. The rounds are 300 grain jacketed hollow points, Sutton said, eyeing the gun. It's also equipped with a laser and specifically modified extended clip. It can hold 16 in the clip and 1 in the chamber. I felt like a kid being given a new toy. I think I'm going to need a new holster too, I said, lifting the gun out of the case and inspecting it. I wonder what else Jack has stashed, I thought whilst changing back into my civilian clothes in the locker room. I just put my sneakers on when Edwards popped his head through the door. Yo, we got reports of shots being fired over at Smith's farm. Put your shit back on and let's go, he yelled, closing the door. Damn it, I said whilst putting a vest on and grabbing my new toy. I'll ride with you, I told Edwards, whilst placing the shotgun in the holder in the front of his SUV. Mike Smith just called and said he shot at a prowler that tried to get in his house. We're meeting Wilcott and Jack there, Edwards told me as we exited the lot. We pulled up to the Smith farm, and a few minutes later followed by Wilcott. Mike was standing on the front of his porch holding an AK-47, his wife and daughter holding onto him crying. When we got out, he leaned the gun up against the porch railing. I hope you fucking guys brought something big. That wasn't no damn human, he said, clutching his wife and daughter as they walked down the steps towards us. Senior Deputy Wilcott, a man only slightly smaller than Jack, moved to the front, holding a pistol-grip 12-gauge shotgun with attached foregrip and flashlight. What the hell's going on, Mike? Hey, Mason, put Allison and Kelly in the back of my unit with some blankets. Then grab the M4 out of the trunk, he directed whilst looking at Mike. Kelly was getting Allison ready for bed when she saw something move from the window. I went outside with my AK and flashlight around the side of the house and saw a fucking monster clawing its way up the side of the house towards our bedroom window. I fired a few times, but the thing was so fast. It jumped from the damn house to the tree line 40 yards away. What the hell was that? Mike frantically relayed to Wilcott whilst pointing at the trees. Jack pulled up as Wilcott started talking to Mike. Okay, put your family in the truck and head to the station. Wilcott put a hand on Mike's shoulder. I'm going to have a look around the property. Jack was now out of his truck and moving towards the back of it. He opened the back and pulled out an AA-12 full-auto shotgun. Grabbing the drum mag, loaded it, and chambered around. Alright, Mason, you're with me. Wilcott and Edwards, take the other side of the house, and we'll meet at the back at the tree line, Jack ordered, closing the back of his trunk. Watch each other's backs out there and stay alert. Remember, it's a hunter, and a damn near perfect one. I scanned the tree line whilst Jack scanned around the house. Later on, you gotta show me the rest of your stash? I asked Jack, pointing at a shotgun as we rounded the corner to see the back of the house. Sure, he answered back. Wilcott and Edwards were rounding their corner when we heard something moving in the woods. On me, Jack said, turning towards the tree line. Each one of our weapon-mounted flashlights scanned everything as we closed in on around the location of the noise. There it was. Quiet again. Maybe we should get some more backup out here, I whispered. I have other deputies on their way. For now, it's just us. Stagger on me, Jack responded as we entered the trees. The only noise that could be heard was us moving through the brush. Did you see that? Edwards asked. I just saw a red flash about 30 yards east. All right, move. Edwards, take point, Jack responded. Copy that, moving out. We made our way to where he saw the flash and started scanning the area. I know I saw something, Edwards was saying before he was cut off. We turned our flashlights to see him laying in a heap on the ground. What the hell? Wilcott shouted. A man dressed in all-black military gear stepped out from behind the tree Edwards was next to. A second later, we were surrounded by a dozen men in all black with their lights and guns pointed at us. "You have no move here. Put your weapons down and come with us." The man, who I assumed laid Edwards out, ordered from under a full face mask. "What the fuck is going on?" I said, dropping the M4. Wilcott and Jack doing the same. "You better hope Edwards is okay," Jack growled, Edwards starting to stir. "What the—" he mumbled, rubbing the side of his head. He looked around, then saw the man standing over him. "Motherfucker!" he shouted, trying to get up, only to have a gun shoved to his right eye. "I do not have orders to kill you, but I will execute you without hesitation. Move again," the man said, cocking the hammer back on his handgun. Okay, fuck!" Edwards yelled, putting up his hands. "Now get up," he growled, keeping the gun towards Edwards' face as he stood up. "Do anything other than told, you die. Move over there with the others." He made Edwards backstep all the way to us, with the gun held to his face. The rest of the soldiers closed in on us and started removing our stuff. "Who the fuck are you people?" I asked when one of them started removing my vest. "Nobody," was the reply. After we were all stripped of our gear, the men moved back into formation. "Move into your location," the man pointing the gun at Edwards said after raising his other hand with a cell phone-like device. "Copy. Area's still hot. Leave 7 to continue search," a voice replied. He pointed at 7 men. "Continue to search. Scrub the area. The rest of you," he looked at us. "Move." We were led out of the woods at gunpoint to 2 waiting SUVs. One of the doors opened right before I felt a jolt of electricity in my side and blacked out. I don't know how long I was out, but I came to with a black sack over my head. "Last one's up, sir," I heard a voice say from somewhere close. "All right, has the second team checked in yet?" the same voice from the device asked. "The second team is there, sir. They made contact with the subject minutes after the first team. The live camera feed did confirm previous thoughts. There are more than one. There's nothing left of them," the voice close by answered. "Shit," was the response. "You dickheads mind taking this off my head? It's hot in here," I heard Jack say. "Do it." The sack was yanked off my head, and I became blinded for a few moments whilst my eyes adjusted to the light. When my vision cleared, I started scanning the room. We were sitting at a metal table in the middle of a room, all of us facing the wall. There were 4 men in all black on the other side with pistols pointed at us. The door opened on the side of the room, and a man wearing almost the same gear as the others walked in. He was wearing a full face mask with black as midnight sunglasses. He grabbed a chair from the corner and sat on it on the other side of the table in front of us. There were no markings to indicate who he was, other than a black diamond patch with a strange M in the middle of it. "Who the fuck are you?" Jack growled. The man began to remove his helmet, then his sunglasses. "I've been watching all of your careers." He placed his gloved hand on the table. "Stop the theatrics, asshole. My head is killing me," Edward spoke up. "Fair enough," the man responded back. He removed the mask and placed it on the table. "Holy shit," I heard Wilcott mumble. The man in front of us had had slash marks from the right side of his head to the bottom side of his left jaw. One of the slashes going through his right eye that was milky white. "Wait a damn second," Jack uttered. "Hey Jack, long time no see." "What the fuck, Jake?" Jack stammered. We need to talk.